So years after Tiny gets beat down and tortured, I invite him to the crib in St. Paul. Soon as he walks in the crib, he's like, hey man, can I go outside and smoke this? And he pulls out a meth pipe. Now, I knew he smoked meth, but I never seen him smoke it. I've seen him snort it, right? So he pulls out a meth pipe. And this is the first time I've ever seen him do this. And he's like, can I go outside and smoke this? And I'm like, fuck no, you can't go outside and smoke that. It's an apartment complex. Like, fuck no, you're not going outside and smoking that shit. Blow that shit out the window, bro. So I knew not to let somebody smoke that shit around me because I had got a contact high years earlier from letting somebody smoke that in the same room as me. It's not like weed, you guys. You can't let somebody smoke this shit around you. It's so powerful, it'll fuck you up, right? So I'm like, damn. So I'm like, you can't go outside and smoke, so you got to blow it out the window. Normally, I wouldn't let somebody smoke that shit around me. I just knew he was just so burned out that just blow that shit out the window, bro. Now, I didn't know what was going to happen when he hit the pipe because I'd never seen him do it before, right? So I'm thinking as soon as he hits this pipe, he's just going to get out of line one way or another, right? This fool hits the pipe once or twice, blows it out the window, and he sits down on the couch and starts acting normal. It was the most tolerable he had ever been the whole time I'd known him. And I'm like, it's over for him. You just smoked crystal meth, and now you're acting normal. You're calm. You're collective. You're cool. It hit him like it was marijuana. He smoked meth and chilled like it was some good-ass weed, and I'm like, fuck, it's over for dude. If you smoke meth and act normal, it's over for you. It was like a medication for him. That's how bad of a psychological nightmare this dude was, that when he smoked meth, it made him act normal, and he was very tolerable and cool to be around. Mind you, this dude was always hard to be around, no matter what, right? But he had such deep psychological issues that shit acted as a medication for him. It scared me because I knew he'll never quit. You shouldn't quit. Just keep smoking that shit, bro. It makes you normal. It's the worst thing I ever seen, man. One of them was Tiny get high and act normal. Because I knew at that point, like, bro, you almost need that shit. I'd never say that about anybody in meth. But him, it's deep with him, you guys. So, back to the garage, right? I don't know everything that happened to Tiny in the garage because I left for probably at least a half hour to an hour throughout this 3-hour beatdown, right? So, I don't even know everything that they did to him, you know, nor do I really care. But when he was done getting beat up and we were done fucking him up, by the time it was over, like I said, he was ashing cigarettes out in his own hand, burning himself. You know? he was suffocating because his eyes and his nose were all swollen up, and there was so much blood in his nose, and we had him gagged with duct tape around his whole head, right? And in his mouth, like, or his mouth is like gagged open. When I cut the tape, they were going to kill him on accident. And I cut the tape off him. Probably about a half hour to 45 minutes before it ended. So for that time period, he stayed as quiet as he could, getting fucked up still. But this was getting to, like, you could say the end of it where it wasn't so bad, but then again, that's when I'm sticking him with hot hangers and ashing cigarettes out in his ears. So there really wasn't, it was pretty intense really the whole time, and he didn't know when it was going to end. Only I did. They didn't know when they were going to stop. Only I knew when it was going to stop. And I didn't really know, but I was the one that was going to call it, right? So finally I call it, and I say, hey, he's learned his lesson. Looks like you get it, huh, Tiny? We take him inside the house. My baby's mom comes home and looks at him, and she turns pale. Tiny looked like he got hit by a train and somehow survived. I threw him a clean pair of clothes from head to toe and a pair of shoes and was like, go take a shower and clean your fucking self up. Get yourself to fucking together. Remember, he came over like wearing some fucking 1970 basketball shorts looking shit and like a fucking goofy ass wife beater or a t-shirt. Like, you got your ass kicked and left with a better pair of gear. With better gear than you showed up with. So don't you motherfuckers ever tell me that I'm just a savage and an asshole. You know? I don't want to hear that shit, man. I'm not going for it. You know? But yeah, Tiny came around and did business after he got fucked up like that. But he was like a clunker after that, kind of. He never really had glory days after that, y'all. The fucked up thing about it is after we fucked Tiny up and everybody knew that it was over for Tiny, you know who the first person to get on his ass was after we fucked him up? Crackhead rapist Bougie. Beat Blaine's ass and robbed him for like an 8-ball. The first person to get him after everybody knew that he had no more protection was Crackhead Bougie. The same dope fiend that we had been beating up since we were 14 years old. Came back to rob Tiny and beat him up. Just for sport. Just because he knew, like, oh, you don't got no protection? Remember, Tiny tried to put a hit out on him and had his girlfriend all beat down and fucked up and maced, you know? And he ran away and left her to get beat after spray painting Tiny's car, you know? I'll put a link to all 11 parts of this story from the beginning to the end, you know? So you guys can watch the whole fucking story and see what really led up to this, you know? And the fucked up thing about it is he didn't even make no money off that crate of weed neither. He basically got jacked for most of his profit, fronted somebody, 50 of them. That person fronted somebody that didn't pay him. And the reason he fronted that person 50 is because they got a settlement for like $3.2 million. So he figured, no matter what, I'm going to get my money. So he fronts dude the 50. Dude fronts it to somebody else, gets jacked, and then doesn't pay Tiny back. The dude's got $3.2 million, and he's like the cheapest Stingiest motherfucker you could ever imagine. I owed the dude $3 once, and he actually asked me for it in front of people. He asked me, hey bud, you got that $3 you owe me? $3.2 million settlement for getting accidentally shot in the knee with a shotgun. He sued Winchester, and he sued the homeowner's insurance company of the person's house who it happened in. And then he sued like the person that did it. He sued their parents' homeowner's insurance company, which was like 5 cities away from where it happened. I don't even know how that shit even worked. But he had $3.2 million and got jacked for 50 of them that he fronted from Tiny and didn't pay it back. He was forced to pay it back at a certain point by people higher up. He had to come off possessions and money, and they took his truck, all type of shit. He was forced to pay it at a point, but not by Tiny. And not too Tiny. You know? But yeah, that was Tiny's demise, you guys. He never had a good run after that. He was just basically turned into a meth head. Started fucking with the bikers and shit. He started fucking with like Joe Gustafson, and I forgot what the dad's name was. I think the dad's name was Joe too. I think it was a Big Joe and a Little Joe. They ended up getting like 20 years in prison for a bunch of dirt they did. But yeah, he started hanging around the bikers, and they ended up fucking him up. You know what I'm saying? Like, Tiny just really couldn't make it. He just wouldn't. He was fucking way better than most of y'all. Tiny had seen a lot. Tiny had been deeper in the game than I ever care to be. Tiny's been to Mexico. You know, Tiny's met real Mexicans on the other side of the border. He really went above and beyond your average person in the street, but he just wasn't a solid individual, so it ended up going bad for him in the end. But Tiny had been some places. Tiny had seen some dope. Tiny had done some shit. So, no, Tiny did fucking way more than most of y'all. And he didn't even snitch when he got tortured and beat down. The cops one day came to him, I think at his grandparents' house, and was like, hey, we heard that, what happened? You want to talk about it? He was like, no, I don't. Tiny just bossed up on him and said, hell no, I ain't snitching about getting tortured and beat up by my best friend and a couple other homies. Like, we were really his friends, though. And that's why we had to do that to him. Them other 2 dudes, one dude signed for the pack. The other dude, they were both in on putting the smackdown on Bougie. A and B were both in on that. You know? So they had their reasons. But they were loyal enough to throw their lives away for him. And he didn't show the same loyalty in return. You know? So it's like, it blew me away though, that Tiny always said I saved his life. If you find him right now today, he'll be like, man, Nick saved my life. And for multiple different reasons. He says I saved his life literally in the scenario because they were going to kill him on accident. And I saved his life by teaching him that lesson and holding him accountable for his bullshit actions. Because he knew that if he kept doing this shit with other people, then they'll kill him too anyway. So he felt like me severely fucking him up with the homies like that did him some good. He learned from it. But one of the last times I seen Tiny, I felt like he was trying to set me up. Because I saw him at 3:30 in the morning, and it was like maybe like 2006. And he was like, there was nobody else around in the street. All of a sudden, I pull up on 35th and Nicollet in South Minneapolis. I look over at the SA, and it's Tiny. Nobody else is in the street. It's just me and Tiny. He ain't even from Minneapolis. And he's with one person. A person that he told me tried to set him up a couple of years earlier. I think the day in the apartment when he was smoking the meth, he was telling me that this dude tried to set him up. And then the next time I see you, you're with him? And he's like, hey, Nick, let me get your phone number, bro. I don't got your phone number. From like 100 feet away. And I'm like, nah, Tiny, fuck you, man. I feel like you're trying to set me up, bro. I feel like you're trying to set me up, dog. And I pulled off, and that was the last time I ever saw Tiny. I heard that he's about to die from bad health, they say. You know? But yeah, that's the last time I saw Tiny, man. I said, man, nah, I think you're trying to set me up, bro. Why are you with somebody you told me tried to set you up, and you're trying to get my phone number to obviously do some kind of business? But you're standing next to somebody that you called an informant. So, are you an informant? You know? I don't fucking know. But I tell you what. People think it's easy to sell drugs. You know what I'm saying? And because people always want drugs or they always need them. They're always in demand. So people, I guess, think that it's easy to sell something that's always in demand. But I promise you, this is the most complex, complicated, most cutthroat, shadiest business on the planet. It is not easy to sell drugs. It is very, very complicated. It's very difficult. And it 9 times out of 10 is going to cost you your freedom or your life. You know? And it's like, it was just crazy to see Tiny smoke meth and act normal. That left like a deep impression on me where I'm like, damn, that shit helped him like he was smoking weed or something. He actually functioned like you. I would never say that, hey, go smoke some meth, buddy. That shit'll help you out. It won't, but it helped Tiny. And I'm sure he's had his moments where he's just lost his mind with that shit. I just haven't seen it. That day, though, he hit that pipe, and I'm thinking, I'm going to have to fuck you up if you get high around me. You're going to say some shit. You're going to do some shit. You're going to start getting all obnoxious. You're going to get annoying. It was the exact opposite. It was the most tolerable time that I'd ever been around him. Ever. And it scared me, man, because I'm like, fuck, it's over for Tiny, man. If you smoke meth and act normal, it's over for you. It's over for you. You're that fucked up. And he had been through a lot of shit, you know, and it's like, it's fucked up because when Tiny was a little kid, his dad used to beat him up and like tie him up and torture him and shit, you guys. And I never really realized that I did the same thing that his dad did to him as a child, but as a grown-up. I didn't do that knowing it at the time, but he basically went through the same thing that he went through as a child, innocent, but he wasn't innocent this time. He was innocent back then when his dad used to beat him and torture him and shit. That's why he was raised by his grandparents. So Tiny had some deep psychological issues. His mom ended up contracting HIV when we were like 13 or something like that, and She was a crackhead, so that was always rough on Tiny too. I met his mom before. I've been around his mom, you know, but she was always estranged, you know, but at a point she came back to Minnesota from South Florida, like West Palm Beach or something. It's a rough place, right? She went to West Palm Beach, contracted HIV, and then had like 2 or 3 kids while being HIV positive. So Tiny has brothers and sisters that were born with AIDS, you know, and it's like, I wish things wouldn't have went the way they went, but I couldn't let him get away with that shit. You know? Like, Tiny had like a hairline fracture in his skull. I don't even know what that means, but his skull was fractured a little bit. Like, he had like all type of broken shit in his face, you know what I'm saying? I don't think his jaw was broken or anything, but he had to go to the hospital after what we did to him. He didn't tell, but you know they called the police when he got to the hospital. I know they did, you know? They had to have, and he didn't snitch. He didn't snitch when they showed up at his house after they caught wind of what happened in the street. Can you say that? You wouldn't have done that? Tiny had 10 times more balls than most of you motherfuckers watching this video. Not everybody, but when you think of Tiny, you better know that you ain't even built for half the shit he's been through. You know? You're not built for that shit, man. You're not built for it, man. I wish I never would have lived that life, man. You know? I wish I never even would have lived that life, man. I really, it just worth it, man. I'm ashamed of that shit. You know? Not necessarily what I had to do to him, but just the whole lifestyle in general. It's just full of scumbags, man. It's gonna make you a scumbag. You know? Made me a scumbag. Even though I came out of it good, there's still a lot of shit I did in the game that I wish I never even had to do, man. Not that story, though, necessarily. But, I mean, yeah, that story. All of it, man. But I'm glad I had it in me to give Tiny the business like that. Because if I didn't have it in me to give him the business, then I just would have been weak. You know? So I think I covered everything, you guys. That's the end of the story, man. That's the end of the story, man. But one day, when we were like about 15, right? We were hanging out, and this dude was like, we were all high and shit. We were smoking Primos. It was like the first time I ever smoked weed and coke, right? We were just high as fuck. Best high ever. Don't do it, but back, like, that was like the first time smoking weed on coke. It's like a real good high, but then it's like, I don't know, it turns into a bad habit, right? So we're smoking Primos, and it's like the first time, right? All of a sudden, this dope fiend Dom, I'll say his name because he died, he overdosed. All of a sudden, and he was like about 10 years older than us, right? All of a sudden, Dom was like, you know what, man? He was like, the plug is the DEA. And we just laughed at him all night. We just laughed in Dom's face when he tried to tell us the head honcho in this whole scenario was the DEA. We laughed at him so hard that he just got all pissed off and left. Because we were about to probably beat his ass, right? We laughed all the way home. Because this was at the homie Johnny's crib. We laughed all the way home about this, you guys. I couldn't stop laughing. This dude just said the plug was the DEA. He was right. He was right. In a way, he was right because the plug had a DEA officer on his payroll. The plug wasn't a snitch, but he was intertwined with the DEA, come to find out later on. We laughed at that fool all night, but he was right. He was right. He was right. One day I was in a bathroom taking a piss, right? In an SA off of like 394 in Louisiana. I come out of the bathroom, I look over, and the plug's standing there. And he's this white dude. He's like a white guy who's got like this spike haircut. He's got like a mullet, right? He's like this white rock and roll dude, right? But he's got like style and taste and shit. You know, he had the Dodge Viper, Harley Softail. He liked nice things. He was a poacher also. Fucking guy was poaching and making big money on that. He had one of them big ass stuffed bears in his living room and like deer heads and like things like that. You know, there's a lot of money in poaching and selling stuffed dead animals. I didn't know that. You know? But yeah, this dude, he was like, did all kinds of shit, right? I come walking out of the bathroom, I see him, and we're like, what's up? And I owe him like 3 bands still. And we don't even speak about it. We don't say nothing about the scenario. We just go opposite directions. He didn't ask me about the money. We just didn't say shit about our past. We just went opposite directions, man. And I actually heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, this could just be rumor, I don't know, but I heard in the end, he became high-level DEA. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but he just disappeared out of existence. I just never heard anything about this guy. Even a couple of years before I saw him in the bathroom or coming out of the bathroom, he had already disappeared. You know, I don't know whatever became of him, but I heard he... Hey, and you guys, a lot of these people, that's how they end out. When you reach a certain level, you have to be the cops. Or you have to have some kind of inner workings with them. That's why I never wanted to be a boss like that. I never wanted to be on those kind of levels because I saw early on the problems that come with it. You know? That's the story, man. That's how it went. You know?